Joining us on stage is Juha Vesanto, tribe lead at OP Financial Group, and Juha will tell us how to look at actually AI Act. I think it's a good continuation to this discussion. How to look at it as a positive force, right? And how to take also Gen AI to a next level. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So yes, my name is Juha Vesanto. Everybody calls me Juuso, and everybody calls me Vesa at least once for some reason. So now that Simo has you all pumped up about Gen AI, I'm sure it's not the first time. I'm going to drag you down to the AI Act, so down to the basement. But it's not all about that. It's also about how OP has been approaching Gen AI and making the conversion from traditional AI into Gen AI. So I'm sure LP group doesn't need an introduction to this group. So, but myself, so I'm heading tribe at OP called Data Platform and AI. So it's half and half. We are doing data productization, data platform, data mesh, that kind of things. That's one half of my tribe. The other half is about artificial intelligence. So my own background is with data science. I was the principal data scientist at OP for a couple of years before I got transferred to this tribe lead position. But that's my background. I come to data science. I love data. I love machine learning, all that kind of stuff. So think of this presentation as coming from some machine learning enthusiast, so forth. So a brief look into the history of AI at OP. This is kind of a more general introduction into how the journey has been towards the AI Act, towards the Gen AI. So actually, the journey at OP towards artificial intelligence started already in the 80s. Back then, artificial intelligence were actually called expert systems. That was the kind of initial generation of AI. And OP was already experimenting with those. Now, then that didn't work out very well. Those systems didn't really work. So there was a long period of just doing analytics, traditional analytics. And then in 2017, OP started this Financial program. That's actually the point where I already also jumped on board at OP. Now, since then, it's been about growing the AI expertise, machine learning expertise, data science practice, and data science community inside OP. In 2020, we started this citizen data science program. Currently, we have about 600 members in our data science guild. That's to say a bit too much because it's not terribly active at the moment. The main activities currently around data community, data productization, and of course the Gen AI and all that kind of stuff. So one other important thing about this journey at OP is that we actually started our work towards this responsible use of AI already quite early. So already in 2018, OP published our first ethical principles on the use of AI. That was actually, if you know, Meri Haataja from Sidot. Now, Sidot is a Finnish company who is concentrating on AI governance and responsible AI, and they are having a time of their life. The company is growing quite fast at the moment and you know, presenting all over the world at the moment. She's the one that introduced these ethical principles at all. Now, at the same time, GDPR came into effect. So what you see here on this slide is kind of a rundown of OP's relationship with AI regulation. Now, GDPR, of course, was a very big thing. It's also, I'm mentioning it because it's important. Data is very important with respect to AI, and also because pushing through practices governing GDPR has proven to be very valuable in our approach in then approaching also the AI Act. Now, the AI Act, the initial proposal on AI that was proposed in 21. OP was already at the time participating in Turku University program called AIGA, AI Governance Framework. And then as part of that work, we published our first transparency report on AI, on the use of AI in the beginning of last year. And then what you can see here is the kind of schedule on the AI Act. So we started our regulatory change program in January. Currently, we are working towards finalizing our interpretation of the AI Act. We have already a kind of rudimentary AI inventory in place, primarily targeted towards recognizing the prohibited use cases at OP, which we need to close down, and then identifying the high-risk use cases. Now, this is a big work because the interpretation is not clear, and we need to make our own choices and our decisions on our justifications for the interpretation. The EU AI committee or AI office will come with their own interpretation of the legislation in December, and they have already said that it will not answer all the questions. So with respect to with respect to GDPR, we are in a similar position that the interpretation of the legal text is still very much unclear, even if the regulation is already coming into effect. Now, what Philip mentioned is that I have some positive news about the AI Act. So increasing the regulation and its impact on OP is, I think, it's a positive force. Now, GDPR was about data, sure, but it was actually mostly about the use cases of the data. And this is, as a data scientist, for me, this has always been the one thing that I've been preaching all over to all the people that I meet. What you need to do with when you're doing analytics, you need to consider the use case first. It's all use case driven. Otherwise, you do analytics, you do reporting, or you do whatever. If you don't consider the use case to start and from the start, then basically you're wasting your work and doing some results which are not usable, and that's a big problem. It's a big fundamental cultural position to be. And what GDPR came up with was that before you utilize data, you need to specify what are you going to use the data for. So regulation is actually in this way enforcing us to do the sensible thing that we should have done anyway. Consider the use case first. Now, AI Act has kind of a similar beneficial effect on how we approach data and analytics and so forth. Now, when I look at AI Act, what I see is that it's bringing the product management approach to analytics, because well, it says quite a lot about different kinds of levels of AI systems, but the most of the regulation is concerned with high risk AI systems, and the requirements on the high risk systems are really mostly about product management, how to do product management efficiently in analytics, in machine learning, in data science, and so forth. So it's kind of enforcing us to apply product management principles on analytics, and I think that's a good thing, and that's why I think positively about the AI Act. Now, the danger is overinterpretation. We saw that in the beginning in 2018 when GDPR came into effect. We are still seeing it. Only yesterday I was having a heated discussion about whether analysts should be allowed to utilize real data because of data minimization principle says that, okay, maybe they don't need it. So can you do this analytics just based on simulated data, please? Just to be on the safe side with respect to GDPR. And it's a battle against windmills that I've been having for the past 5 years. But it's kind of gradually going away. Similarly, AI Act. Now, the bad thing about the AI Act is that it has a very large interpretation of AI. So basically, all mathematical models, not just machine learning models, but all kinds of mathematical models, they may be AI systems, or they kind of may be a component that makes a system an AI system. It's not very strict on what is an AI system. And that makes AI Act suddenly applicable to a very large set of systems and so forth. And if you go by the book, if you kind of go by the strictest possible interpretation of the AI Act, you are going to have a lot of work ahead of you because you need to apply all those requirements to all systems and so forth. Might not be a bad thing, but it's still a lot of work. So having this discussion with compliance officers and so forth, and of course with our financial regulators in Finland also with respect to what we need to do and how we approach this and so on. That's going to be very important so that we can find the same level of proper interpretation and so forth. Now, with respect to what comes to OP, this is a partial list of the things that we have identified that we need to do in order to be compliant with the AI Act. I'm sure the same list more or less applies to YouTube. This is pretty generic. First of all, we need to arrange education. So that's Article 4 in the AI Act. Well, we already started educating people about AI in 2019. So we have a education program on that. It's not really, we need to adjust it in order to be more relevant with respect to AI Act and its requirements and so forth. But we have already started it and so on. Just adjustments are needed. Secondly, we need to build up this reporting of AI, especially high-risk AI systems. We don't know yet who to report to, on what kind of report we need to do, and so forth. But we are already collecting this information on where we have AI and what kind of systems contain those and which are the high-risk systems. In order to be compliant with the high-risk requirements, high-risk AI system requirements, we need to make adjustments to our development processes. Also, we need to go through those contracts with our suppliers because AI Act has this division between provider and deployer, and our suppliers are possibly suppliers of AI systems. So we can expect them to give us documentation which we are needing in order to be compliant with the AI Act. So that's something that we need to push through those to those suppliers and companies also through our agreements. So that's also something that will need to be adjusted. And then finally, kind of from a data science perspective, what's going to be an interesting exercise is, for example, the protection against bias and data protection, that kind of things. The kind of things that are really have a lot to do with doing the analytics itself and how to do it, how to do statistics and how to do data management and so forth. And as a data and AI enthusiast, that's where I'm. That's my area. That's where I find the most interesting part. But that's just part of the whole. Okay. Going on to the second topic, so leaving AI Act now aside for a bit, let's talk about AI and in general, and how it's transforming the banking, and how it's transforming how we are taking into account that OP and so forth. So as I mentioned, AI was initially initiated as expert systems back in 80s. Basically, the researchers at the time would go to people to like doctors to say, okay, please explain me how you do this diagnosis. And they would turn that into write down the rules and implement those rules in some system using basic or C, and then expect the outcome to be able to do the diagnosis instead of the doctor. Well, that didn't turn out very well. So in 80s, we got neural networks, which formed the basis of modern AI. They were very small at the time, so what we have currently are huge AI systems, huge neural networks. But back in the day, I was a researcher at Aalto University at the time, so I did my research on that also. Then we got deep learning in after millennium. AI generated art, game dominance, and of course, the whole pack kind of exploded in the end of 22 when ChatGPT 3.5 was published for open use by OpenAI. That's when kind of the whole world shifted, and the term AI essentially changed its meaning from, there's some kind of system, mathematical system that does it, nobody's interested in, that's called AI, and suddenly everybody is interested in. And whenever somebody talks to me about AI, I kind of, the initial assumption is that they are really talk about LLMs and so forth. So that's why we talk about traditional AI versus generative AI, and that's kind of a shift in terminology. Now, what this means from business perspective is that we have a completely new kind of tool at our hands. The most particular property of this modern AI systems, generative AI and so forth, is that they enable us to do a completely new set of things, mostly currently to do with natural language, but also with audio, with images and so forth. But it's about this, it's a whole new concept. It's really a disruptive technology, but you all knew about that already. So how does it impact business? How do we get to those business benefits that we are being promised and so forth? Now, there's basically two paths here. One is that this efficiency, kind of office efficiency, will be improved by those tools. Well, we have seen that happen. We have seen a lot of figures or promises, X% more efficiency at the workplaces and so forth. We have co-pilots and so forth. We have GitHub Copilot. OP is also has started to use AI assisted coding tools like Copilot and so forth. Certainly, the efficiency benefits are there, but the point is everybody has those. So in order to be competitive, you need to start using the same efficiency tools and improvements that everybody else is doing, but ultimately that's a defensive strategy, not really something that will provide you a competitive advantage on the long run. So that's why we have the right side here, is that in order to get real competitive advantage on AI, it's not sufficient to just start using those tools. You need to build your processes, kind of rebuild your processes, so that you can utilize these tools and their disruptive possibilities to change your business, to change the way you run your business in ways that really utilize the real power of these tools. And that's where kind of what's needed. What's needed is where to put that, and also what's needed is kind of out-of-the-box thinking that Simo was calling for. So you have to be able to think your business in a new manner, taking into account these new kinds of tools and so forth. Now, on a very general level, this is kind of an axis where I put different kinds of ways, just on this axis that I mentioned before. So on the other hand, we have use cases for these new AI tools, which are dealing with making our office work more efficient and so forth. There's translation, summarization, search, and all that kind of stuff. Then there are software development tools and so on. You can buy those tools kind of off the shelf. You don't need to develop those tools. What you need to do is to develop your own working process, ways of working to make use of those efficiently. But basically, you don't need to develop those tools at all. Then on the right side, we have these use cases and development items that you need to work on extensively on your own. That's where you need kind of deep understanding on how these things actually work, not just utilize it kind of on the surface level, but more like, okay, how do I make fine-tuned LLM model that fits my need and my domain and so forth. So we have intelligent automation, which automates your processes. Then we have kind of the first step would be the robot that is drawing that carriage. But then, of course, what you need to do is completely think through those processes in a new way in order to make the robot handle it all the way. And that's where you need business understanding of what you can do and what you can't do. Then, of course, we have a very highly potential area of improvement in terms of running the business and giving good customer service are these 24/7 AI services that can really handle customer interactions in a personalized fashion and totally automatically. But those kind of we'll be seeing those in the future, and of course, that's also something that OP is paying attention to. Now, so this is my last slide. So how does a large Nordic bank approach generative AI? And the kind of high-level answer is that cautiously. OP participated in a review on our GenAI practices and roadmap and so forth, and we didn't fare very well at it. That was back in January. Mostly because many companies across the various interested had already invested a lot to running GenAI applications, running GenAI teams, and so forth. Well, I'm kind of skeptic about those. It was a questionnaire. I think some companies probably over-answered overstated their position and so forth. Then we did the other way around. But anyway, OP is approaching these GenAI opportunities of GenAI quite cautiously. So we did our own internal ChatGPT client, basically based on OpenAI services. So we are utilizing ChatGPT 3.5 and 4.0 at the moment. We did it already back in 1 year ago. So in a sense, we are quite early on doing it. But after that, the approach has been that we give out these tools, the basic tools, to our organization and give people the permission to experiment. But we are not going forward very fast into our customer interfaces because there are big risks in terms of we don't yet know what we are doing. We don't know the risks. And of course, now that the AI Act is coming along, we don't know what we can do and still be compliant with the AI Act. So what we are currently doing is that we are continuing the experimentation. We are using Microsoft M365 Copilot. We are using GitHub Copilot, and we have our own development team, and we are encouraging our business units also to start up their own development teams, where they would grow the ML engineering practice or LLM engineering practice that is needed in order to create benefits out of these systems. At the same time, we are building our AI strategy. So at the moment, we are running a set of workshops across businesses in order to identify the results of those experiments that different businesses have been having. What kind of experience do they have? What kind of potential use cases do they have they identified? And then therefore get this or gather this AI alignment, so that when we then start pushing this properly, we'll do it in the same direction, using the same tools and same technologies and same ways of working, so that we don't end up in a chaos, but kind of move along in a coherent fashion and so forth. So the point is we are trying to do this in an organized fashion and look before go, in a way. But we are a bank, but that goes with that. So as a conclusion, AI Act is real. It's the first items that will take effect will be in January. So starting from January, the prohibited use cases should no longer exist, and therefore the kind of our most urgent task has been to identify prohibited use cases, AI use cases or AI systems. Luckily, we have none or haven't identified one. We identified a few potential ones, but we are kind of generating the argumentation now that okay, even if there's potential for these to be, or they are kind of roughly looking from a long way ahead, they might be prohibited use cases, but actually they are not because of these and these reasons and so forth. So creating the argumentation already on that. The other thing is the high-risk systems, which will come along later on, but the set of requirements concerning the high-risk systems are such that we need to start preparing for those very much early on. So identifying those high-risk systems is essentially already now, so that we have 1.5 years time then to implement those changes that are needed. But looking at it from that perspective, the good thing about AI Act is that it enforces us to do proper documentation, proper product management, proper testing of those systems that are considered to be high risk with respect to EU and EU citizens. And that's where we kind of can build our expertise and excellence and so forth. So that's the good thing. On the other topic, on OP's approach to GenAI, so GenAI is a new tool which has new properties, I suppose new disruptive properties with respect to systems and automation and so forth. But other than that, it is artificial intelligence. This machine, it is based on those same algorithms that existed already before, applied mostly to these natural language patterns. There's huge potential in document handling and so forth, and all kinds of that kind of data that didn't really wasn't manageable or usable in automated fashion at all before, and now it's becoming, and that's where the huge potential is. So I think my time is up, and
thank you very much. You're so great. Applaud to you.